Hello, I'm the Rev Bonnie Evans-Hills and I'm a priest in the Scottish Episcopal Church. My own church is on the coast of Fife, St. Margaret's Church in Leven. Now, I'm here to share with you the stories of two people, and both of them were very young when they had to leave their homes. The first is a story of a young boy in Afghanistan. His name was Gulwali. When he was 11, his father and uncles were killed by soldiers called the Taliban. And then the Taliban told his mother that they wanted Gulwali and his little brother to join them as soldiers. They were still little boys, 11 and 9. So their mother paid for someone to get her children out of the country. She couldn't go with them because they just couldn't afford it. They were supposed to travel together, but the people she paid to take them separated Gulwali from his brother, and he had to walk over mountains in the freezing snow and across deserts. He was caught at one point on a border and put in prison alongside grown-up men. And they tried to send him back to Afghanistan, but he escaped and made his way free again. It took him 18 months, but after many hardships, going hungry, hiding in the back of lorries, and times when he was very afraid, he made it to England. When he arrived, he was only 12 years old, but the people at the border didn't believe him. They thought he was 18, so he was put in a hostel with adult men. It made him very sad. No school, no family to care for him. But eventually a kind social worker believed him. He was checked by a proper doctor and finally given a home with a family. He went to school, went on to university, and he wrote his story, and I have it here. It's called The Lightless Sky. Now, this other person I want to tell you about is Najin. She lived with her family in Aleppo in Syria. And soon a war started. Najin was born with a defect in her spine, which means that she can't walk and is confined to a wheelchair. And because of this, when she was growing up, she was unable to leave their home to go to school. She taught herself using the television and the internet, much like so many children are having to do today during lockdown here in this country. Najin is very clever and was able to find ways of learning to read and learn history and maths and biology. The language of her country and family is Arabic, but she also taught herself to speak and to read excellent English, using a completely different alphabet. When they had to escape, they paid someone to get them on a bus. But after a while, the family had to walk. And this meant that her big sister pushed her all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, where they had to get into a very tiny boat to cross the sea. And Najin still had to have her wheelchair with her. They were very afraid of the sea. If the boat capsized, Najin couldn't swim, and she would have drowned. But her family did make it across the sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and eventually made a home for themselves in Germany. And Najin, with the help of a journalist, has told her story in this book. Now, I have a friend who works to support children like Gulwali and Najin and their families, and she wrote a story about one child. The profit from selling her book goes to fund a home in France where people are able to find refuge and help. Her story is about a little boy who's just arrived in the UK and starts school. He's very nervous, but his friends soon learn more about his story. And it's called The Boy at the Back of the Class. I'd like to encourage us all to listen to these stories of courage and bravery and faith, because it took faith to get them through, and overcoming incredibly difficult circumstances in their lives. Please take time to listen.